Hello and welcome to another video. I'm currently working as a data scientist for a small fintech corporation here in Switzerland, and I thought I might take the opportunity and go with you through a real-life example of a data set, and then we can go around in Excel and I'll show you the most frequently used tips, tricks and functions that I need on a daily basis. If this is something that interests you, stick to the video and consider liking or subscribing, because this will very much help me to keep the channel and my motivation going. So, thank you very much and let's jump into it. Alright, now that we are on our computers, well, at least I am now, let's jump into it. So first things first, the dataset we are going to be using is from kaggle.com. It is an example dataset and it's called e-commerce data. I have not taken a deep look at it yet, so we can do all of those things together. So with that, let's open a new empty workbook and import the data. And with importing the data, we can already do something quite nifty here. We can go to the data tab, get data from CSV, and now it's loading. And then you are opening the file from where you have saved it respectively. So now it is trying to connect. Sometimes, especially in the German language where you have these special characters, it might be of benefit to you to import it as Unicode UTF-8, because then you can then you don't have like weird importing errors for some of these special letters. I think it's the same in French, yeah, and some other languages. So let's do that. Let's load the data, and that will take a couple of seconds because this data set that I've already seen is about 500,000 rows, so quite a bit. So let's wait until that is done. Alright, should be good. There we go. Now, what you have to keep in mind, if you import the data such as shown, then you can also refresh the data in case you have new data under the same name in your directory. This can, however, sometimes lead to problems. So what I like to do is first I like to rename, and this is data raw, and then I like to take a new sheet, call it data cleaned, because this is going to be the cleaned data set. And I'm just going to make a hard copy of that in here, and you do that by just pasting the values. So now we have a completely clean data set with just the numbers, no formula, and if you update the data here by clicking refresh data, then this will still be the original data. So sometimes that is of benefit, not always, but just keep that in mind. So first things first, when doing data analysis, at least what I like to do is I like to make it look a bit prettier. So let's just insert some rows here so we have some buffer. Then we are going to give it outlines. That will for sure take a bit. Thick outlines. Also some cell color, and the header should be bold, maybe one text size larger, and that. Then we are sizing it automatically by selecting the data and double clicking any of these lines in between the columns, and then your data set is automatically resized. Now we can go to view and we can turn off the grid lines, and now we have just our cleaned data. Sometimes maybe let's also add a title. Let's call it let's call it e-commerce data, and let's make it bold, underlined, a bit larger, maybe that, just to make it look pretty. And there we go. This is basically our clean data already. Now we can start and decide to do some analysis. The actual analysis part is, oh wait, actually let's format the date real quick, because I've just seen that. It's here a number. It should be, oh, this doesn't look good. Alright, there we go, it should be short date. And now we are going to save the changes. Yeah, sure. There we go. The actual analysis part is something I usually do in a new sheet, so I don't do that within the clean dataset, but it's still loading quite a bit. My PC is not the youngest anymore. So alright, let's insert a new sheet and call that analysis, and in this case we are also giving it a tab color to make it easier in its visibility to access it. Alright, so also here analysis, and what we can do is we can copy the formatting by copying the cell and then clicking the cell, right click, paste options, and then you have this formatting tab. So this is the analysis tab. So as I've not taken a deep look at the data yet, let's do that together and decide what we can do. So as this is e-commerce data, so what kind of things might be interesting? So quantities, and especially quantities over time. So what we could do is we could create some distinct bins in years of the invoices. So for example, like in years or months. As I see now, we only have 2 years, but still we can compare those 2 years. We can also divide it by country. So we can have a table, for example, that shows the quantity per country, and also the price, which should be, yeah, we have quantity, we have price, so we also should be able to also calculate revenues with this. And last but not least, we can also, I suppose, do that by customer ID. However, I think in this case we will stick to country. Yeah, let's start by country and by year. So what we want to do, going to the analysis sheet, let's think about how we can structure the sheet. So we can have time, for example, here on in a row. So we have, let's say 2010 and 2011, and we can have a sum of quantities, sum of revenues. We can have average revenue, and yeah, well, the rest will come by time. So in order to do that, in order to have these discrete bins in years, what we are going to do, as this is already a date, we are going to insert a new column. We are calling this year, and we have the year function. So when having that as number, this should be 2010, perfect. And now we have a whole column with just the year and not all of the dates. And what this allows us to do is use the sum if function. Sum if basically sums under a condition. So we will sum the range, what do we say? Sum of quantities in this case? Yes. We will have the quantities column. We will fix that column as well with F4 if you don't know. And then we will have the criteria. Oh, actually the sum range is in the back. So, sorry. So this is the range So this is the first criteria range, and in this case we only have one. And we will also fix this with F4, and the criteria in this case is 2010, and we will fix this, whoops, 2. Now we can format that in dollars, for example, and copy this over, in this case selecting 2011, however, and now you have a comparison of that. So let's do this for revenues as well, and average revenue, and then we can also calculate the change year over year. So next thing, sum of revenues. Actually, sum of revenues, maybe let's do that a bit easier and have a revenue column as well. We take the quantity times the unit price and drag it down. Takes a bit. Now we again use the SUMIF function. The range is the year, fixing that. The criteria is again the year, and the sum range in this case is the revenues. We are copying that over as well, giving both of them the new formatting, and the same can be done as with the SUMIF function, just as an average if. So this is basically exactly the same. So we have the range, the criteria range, then the criteria cell, and the range that we want to average. So here, and copying that into here, selecting the new year, new formatting, perfect. So in this case we also want to calculate, however, year over year, because in the end you shall not forget, data science is basically in order to get insights on the data that you already have. So we want to get insights that we don't already see from just looking at the data. So a year over year change for this is quite helpful, for example, for management and doing decisions or whatever. So whoops, bad habit, Python habit. In this case, I think it was this minus this divided by the new one. Is that true? No, it is not true. The other way around. It is yeah, in parentheses, new minus old divided by old. Is that true? Yes, this looks true. Yeah. So well, quite the increase. Oh, actually, quantities are numbers, so integers, not currencies. Sorry. Yeah, that is quite crazy. The year-over-year change can be dragged down, however, and now we can give it some formatting again. What I like to do is I like to give a darker outside color to sort of headings, also headings and tables, and make them bold, and the part within the table has a lighter gray. Now what we can do here, which is interesting for sort of dynamic dashboards, is we can use conditional formatting. We can highlight these cells, and we can, for example, say, hey, if it's larger than 0, then it is positive, so a positive change, therefore I want it to be green. And if it is less than 0, then I would like to have it in red because it's a negative change and therefore negative for the business. So this is the first kind of table that might be of interest. So we have a sum of all quantities, sum of revenues, and average revenues. Obviously, we can also have, for example, average quantities, but now you know how to do it. I don't need to redo it. But what is interesting now is let's get some insights and do it by country. And what we are, or like how we are doing it, is how I like to do it. I like to create a new sheet, put it to the back. I like to copy the range. And now what we are doing is we delete all the headers or blank rows. And now we go to data, sort, no, not sort, here, remove duplicates. So that's a way to only get unique values. Perfect, and now you have the 39 unique values that you need. So we go to the analysis sheet and let's do it in this case. Let's do it this way. We just copy it in here, and now I sort of do it the other way around. Now maybe this is actually more useful than we did up here. For example, now we have sum of quantities here, sum of revenues, and then let's say average revenues. Yeah, I think this makes more sense because usually you have more rows than columns. So yeah, take it as you will. It is more or less learning by doing. Now we also give it the formatting that I so much like to emphasize on. And this, bold, darker gray, there we go. And now we are basically doing the same thing that we did before. However, in this case, we do it with the countries. So in this case, sum if. So the criterion is this, and also again fix it. Then we take this value. In this case, we don't drag it down. We fix it only in the column, which should be this. I always mix that up. And now we take the sum of the quantities. So the quantities are here. Drag them down, fix them, and now we can drag it down. Does it work? Well, it works. Yeah, sum of revenues, same thing again. Sum if, and the range is again the country. And we fix the column and sum of revenues. There we go. Drag it down, give it a new formatting, and do the same thing with the average, and then we do some formatting of the table again, so it's not too boring. But yeah, average if, the range again, country. Now it just fixed the first part. That's what you sometimes have. Right, now right? This and average if of the revenues all right. I think that's enough. Maybe even yeah, so it looks a bit better. Now we can format the table again. Whoops. Because we dragged some rows down, so the thick line always gets broken. And now we can use some conditional formatting again. Maybe you want to see, well, probably for the company, what is most important is revenues. So let's here have a color scale, and well, United Kingdom accounts for quite a bit. So maybe actually it doesn't make sense to include it. Well, this is fine. So here you can clearly see that, and I chose it in that way because the higher the revenue, the greener, the better it is for you. So you can see that there's quite a big difference between the United Kingdom and literally all of the other countries. Though I'm not sure what this is, but let's not get too into depths with this data set. Yeah, this is basically like the first step of a data analysis. This is usually how I start. So I use sum ifs, I use average ifs, sometimes also mean ifs. Oh, sorry, not median ifs. But that is a good first start. Now, when looking at the data, what you could do as well is you can have a look at the unit price, and if the unit price is largely differing from country to country, and therefore the revenue that contributes it, you can also sort by customer ID, so you know how much each customer is buying, the quantity, the revenues that is generated per customer, and get some insights into that. In this case, however, I think I'll call it a day. This was just a basic introduction to data analysis from a dataset that I've also not seen before. Take it as you will. I think I maybe jumped from point to point a bit, but maybe it was helpful regardless. If so, I would appreciate a like or subscribe or a comment if you have something to criticize. I also appreciate that. And yeah, in any case, have a great week and enjoy your time. Bye bye.